Hi, and welcome to our masterclass on how to access altered states of mind for powerful guidance and problem solving. What I'm going to be presenting to you are some of the core ideas from the legendary Silva method, pioneered by Jose Silva. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to learn how to tap into alpha, theta, and delta wave frequencies of the human mind to get into states of profound creativity, intuitive guidance, and even create coincidences to move you forward. Today, it may seem that we are more isolated than ever in a truly unpredictable world. But the question is, are we really alone? And as you will see, this masterclass and what you're going to learn here through the works of Jose Silva suggests that we are not a single-dimensional being, that we exist in multiple dimensions, and we have access to tools from these other dimensions. Silva went on to say that when you can learn to do this, you become a genius. Think about the great geniuses throughout history. They would often talk about flashes of inspiration, eureka moments. Nikola Tesla, who has been identified recently as one of the most prominent inventors of our era, would speak about lights and intuitive guidance, and he would see complete constructions in his head. Thomas Edison, who is known for his 2,000 plus patents, would speak about his famous afternoon naps, where he would lie down on the couch with a metal ball in his hand, and as he'd drift off in sleep, his hand would drop, the ball would hit the ground, where there'd be a metal plate, creating a loud clang that would wake him up. And he would get ideas and remnants from these dips into napping, except he wasn't napping. He was tapping into what is called a theta frequency. So it's no surprising that when Napoleon Hill, the legendary personal growth writer of the 20s, 30s, and 40s, was asked to interview the world's greatest minds and figure out what made them tick, he wrote this in his classic book, Think and Grow Rich. He said, "A genius is a man who has discovered how to increase the intensity of thought to a point where he can freely communicate with sources of knowledge not available through the ordinary rate of thought." This is what you're about to learn. So why do altered states matter? Well, there are three things we're going to talk about here. First, getting guidance or intuition. Second, removing blocks or manifesting. And third is dipping into a state called delta, where you're able to access guidance from a higher source. Recently, I polled my audience at Mindvalley, 50 million people strong across all our social media, and I asked them, what are the biggest things in life that you would love to solve right now? Now, these were the two biggest things, and see if you relate. So of thousands of responses and hundreds of different entries, 29% of these entries fell into the realm of abundance. We want more abundance in our life. Abundance of finances, obviously. We want to be able to live well, but also abundance of love, abundance of happiness, abundance of health. Abundance. It's freaking glorious. And the second thing was kind of strange. I didn't expect this, but people, 29% equal to abundance. People wanted to be able to focus better. They said that they were distracted by lack of focus. They were procrastinating. Now, a lot of this was also because of the pandemic. The pandemic put us in a brain state where your brain releases a chemical called norepinephrine. Norepinephrine is released when you are under threat, when you are in social isolation, when we aren't connecting with the people we normally connect with. But a side effect of it, according to Stephen Kotler, who is a master researcher in flow states, is that you lose focus and you feel overwhelmed. What you're going to learn in this class is how to take back control of your brain. So first, if you know me, you're excited to be here and you know why you're here. If you don't know me, allow me to do a quick introduction. My name is Vishen Lakhiani, and I'm the founder of Mindvalley. Mindvalley today is one of the top 3 biggest personal growth companies on the entire planet. We have 15 million students, spectacular events, festivals, and seminars across the world, an award-winning platform that is used by governments, Fortune 500 companies, schools, and millions upon millions of users. And I've written 2 New York Times bestsellers on the human mind. My most recent book, The Buddha and the Badass, just hit #1 on the Wall Street Journal, and The Code of the Extraordinary Mind briefly became the #1 book in the entire planet on Amazon for 5 days. And the reason for this is because of my exploration on how altered states of mind can improve the human experience in every dimension. Now, my book, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind, hit #1 in multiple categories on Amazon. Take a look at this slide. It was number one in religion and spirituality, in self-help, in business and money, and even in health, fitness, and dieting. And the reason is because the ideas I'm about to teach you apply in all of these areas. You can use it for health. You can use it to connect with your spirit. You can use it to grow your business and your income. But the idea is rooted in this subtle change: active versus passive meditation. I bet you've tried meditation. In fact, the studies show that the majority of Americans who start meditating give up. And the reason for this is because meditating can be hard. I mean, it's about keeping thoughts out of your head, focusing on one thing, listening to your breathing. Well, the good news is this: that is passive meditation. And I agree, passive meditation can be challenging. Don't get me wrong, it has its benefits, but we're not going to be exploring that. What we're going to be exploring is a form of meditation called active meditation. You do not have to clear your thoughts. You do not have to focus on your breathing. If a thought that's bugging you enters your mind, you learn to manipulate it and turn it into a powerful solution. Active meditation is a game changer. This is why so many entrepreneurs, people who tend to, be naturally ADD, who cannot slow their mind down, so many entrepreneurs fail at regular meditation. But active meditation, they jump on it and they finally see that it all clicks. So keep this distinction in mind. Even if meditation has never worked for you, this is a unique approach. In fact, one could barely call it meditation in the first place. Rather, you might call it meditation for performance. And speaking of performance, here are some of my students, and see if you recognize any of these. First, Tony Gonzalez. I taught Tony Gonzalez meditation, and in an article in the New York Times, he mentions that he meditates to the techniques I taught him. Another one of my students, Bianca Andrescu, she attended one of my classes when she was around 17 years old. At the age of 19, using some of the techniques she learned, namely creative visualization, she accomplished an insane goal. She won the US Open and beat Serena Williams at the age of 19. Articles about this blew up the internet, and when the reporters asked her how she did it, she asked for a phone and pulled up my book. And it turns out that Bianca wasn't just a reader of the Code of the Extraordinary Mind, she had actually graduated from my seminar, The Extraordinary, the seminar based on the book.
I really think that intuition is a very big part of us human beings.
Then there's Camilla Hansen, Miss Sweden. Camilla has used some of these techniques, particularly the creative visualization portion, to not only heal her skin, but also to launch a successful online CBD oil company. Here's what Camilla said.
I love Mindvalley. Like I said, my life would not be the same without it. Like literally my whole life switched when I came across you and Mindvalley. So I'm forever grateful for that. I was always struggling with breakouts. I was eating this perfect organic diet and I still struggled with my skin until I came across that meditation of yours.
And healing meditation from Silva.
After 10 years of struggling, like it just healed my skin.
And then there's the feel of music. I was so honored when Billboard magazine did a story on the R&B rock star Miguel and how he meditates with his entire team before taking the stage. The meditation that Miguel uses, it's the meditation I designed. And this is why I've been asked to teach these ideas to everyone from the Malaysian government to employees at Google to the United Nations in Vienna and even at Facebook HQ. What you're seeing in this picture is me teaching a Silva class to over 500 people in a giant auditorium in Tallinn, Estonia. And as out there as these ideas may seem, I was recently asked to speak at South by Southwest on the main stage and at the 7th Annual Biohacking Conference. These never happened, of course, because they were canceled due to COVID-19. But I share these because I want you to know that, the fact that you're here, 5 years ago, it would probably be a little weird if you told your friends you were going to spend an hour and a half attending a talk on accessing altered states. They'd probably think that you were a little bit too woo-woo. But right now, this content is what I was going to present on the main stage of South by Southwest. This stuff is now becoming mainstream, and it's changing the world. So much so that at least one CEO I know said this. His name is John Butcher. He's the founder of the billion-dollar Precious Moments empire. And he said, any CEO who is not tapping into altered states of mind is at a competitive disadvantage. So how did I get into this? Well, it starts with a really bizarre story, but please have an open mind. Now, it started when I was 26 years old. That's a picture of me at 26. I was living in New York, and I grew tired of New York, and I decided to move to Silicon Valley, to San Francisco. It was 2001 when I landed in San Francisco. And my timing, in a word, sucked. In April 2001, the dot-com bubble burst. Everything collapsed. 14,000 people were laid off. I couldn't get a job. And if that wasn't agony enough, going months and months and months, not even being able to afford rent, but sleeping on a couch, September 11 then hit, making the economy go further into a recession. I was sending out my resume to anyone that would hire me. And finally, I got a big break. A company that developed and sold software to law firms hired me, but on the condition that I only get paid if I close a sale. They asked me if I had any sales experience. I had none, but I didn't dare tell them that because I was sick and tired of sleeping on my friends' couches. I wanted to at least have enough money for rent, so I jumped into this job knowing nothing about sales. In my first month, I made a big fat zero because I couldn't get a single lawyer to show enough enthusiasm to actually buy my software. But it was worse than that. Now, back then, this is what we had to do. I was assigned a territory. It was San Antonio, Texas. I had to call every lawyer in San Antonio, Texas in the Yellow Pages from A to Z. And if you know anything about American Texan lawyers, you know this. If you are a telemarketer or a salesperson and you interrupt a Texan lawyer in the middle of a busy day, you're going to hear more kids than you'd ever imagine you would hear in a 24-hour period. But not only that, these were American lawyers. They would tell me to F off in the most creative ways involving broom handles and blenders and body parts I dare not mention. And so one day, after I guess the 13th lawyer verbally abused me, I decided that I either had to change something about my life or I had to quit. Now back then, this new technology had just emerged. We called it Google. Google was this new search engine that was just starting to rise in dominance. So I got on Google and I needed answers. I started Googling for hope. I asked Google, I don't remember what I typed in that day, but it may have been, Google, why does my life suck so bad? Or Google, give me an answer. Or Google, why are Texan lawyers such assholes? But what I do know is that day I saw a website on Google, and it was about meditation. It was a name I recognized, the Silva Method. I'd read those books when I was a kid. The Silva Method books were hugely popular in the 70s and 80s and 90s, but this was about a new creation by Jose Silva called Silva Ultramind. Apparently it was his final work. He had created it in 96, released it to the world, but before it could really take off, he passed away in 1999. And so there were very few seminars teaching this, but I was intrigued at what the website claimed. The seminar was being taught in LA by a pharmaceutical salesperson, and she mentioned that she had used the tools here to overcome a tragic divorce. She had built her life back. She had jacked up her sales. She was now driving a Ferrari, and she'd met the man of her dreams. And this is why she'd decided, in addition to being a pharma sales rep, to teach the Silva Method, and that she had a class happening that very weekend. That was enough for me. I put the few dollars I had into a plane ticket, flew to LA, showed up for the class. Now, interestingly, when I showed up, I realized that as good at sales as she must have been, she wasn't good at marketing. I was the only student who showed up, but I took that to my advantage. I got incredible one-on-one training with her, and I experienced the power of the Silva Ultramind system. Now, the class was meant to be 2 days, but because I had one-on-one attention, I finished it in one day, in that Saturday, going all the way up to like 9 p.m. I then raced back to the airport, flew to San Francisco, and arrived early Sunday morning in the a.m. I was ready to start my day on Monday. That Sunday, I put what I learned into action. I meditated and I applied the meditation process to go into deep levels of mind. I applied what is called the 3 scenes technique to see my life unfolding in different ways. I applied the mental video technique. And on Monday, I showed up at work and I started putting these techniques into place. Now, back then, to get my list of lawyers to call up, I had to go to the San Francisco Public Library, check the yellow pages for San Antonio, get to the page on law firms, photocopy that page, rush back to my office, and call every attorney from A to Z. But this time, I decided to try what I learned in Silva, namely to tap into an altered state of mind called waking theta, and then tap into human intuition. I would sink into my meditative state, put the piece of paper on my table, run my fingers down the page, and I would only call the lawyers for which I felt an impulse. The impulse, I'll explain it this way, it kind of felt like positivity, like a light, happy, positive feeling. And I would only call those names that gave me that impulse. I would not call any name that didn't give me that hit. Overnight, I doubled my sales. Now, if you know anything about professional level sales, you know that salespeople, they track everything, right? It's an empirical process. You know the number of calls you have to make, you know the number of people who are going to tell you to F off, the number of people who are going to provide you your credit card, the number of people you're going to bill. I tracked everything. And at the end of that week, I doubled my sales. Now, at first I thought maybe this is an aberration, but the next week, I doubled it again when I brought in more Silva techniques. I started growing in my performance so massively that my boss came to me and he said, Vishen, what are you doing? And I said, I think they call it ESP. And he said, nah, that's bullshit, but can you keep doing it? And I grew so fast, my company promoted me 3 times in 4 months. There's something unique about Silva. Once you learn these tools, you can't sit still. No matter how much you succeed, you will have a fire to do more and more and more. Every success builds on top of each other. And soon I grew satisfied working at this company. 18 months had elapsed, and I decided I was able to do so many things. At this point, because of Silva, I was vice president of sales running their New York office in one of the most outstanding buildings in the city, Chelsea Market. It's one of the most, my office is where YouTube Studio sits today. But I was so productive, I was able to take on a second job as business development director. I was able to do 2 jobs in the space of time as an ordinary human being because my mind was so powerful due to Silva. I could use intuition to make better decisions. I could use the alpha level of mind and manifesting to create synchronicities. I was hyper productive, but I needed to do more because why work as a VP of sales when you have this level of potential? So at that point, I decided I needed to go bigger. And I remembered something. I was the only person who showed up for that Silva Ultramind class. Yet these techniques had taught me so much more than my degree at the prestigious University of Michigan School of Engineering. So I decided to become a Silva instructor. I quit my job cold turkey. I became a Silva instructor. And then I used the tools of Silva to grow and elevate my career. That led to me creating the company called Mindvalley, to Mindvalley growing into the business of it today. It led to me just a few months ago getting an award here in the country in which I'm filming this for Mindvalley being the most successful bootstrap startup in Estonia. And for me being recognized by the president of the country I'm in right now as the most recognized foreign founder in the country. None of these awards, none of these accomplishments would have been possible if it wasn't for Silva and the tools that I'm about to teach you here, guiding me throughout my life. Let me show you something. The picture you're seeing here is the picture of my first office. At this point, I'd moved back to my home country, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. That's my first office when I started out as an entrepreneur. I set a goal to have one of the most beautiful offices in the world because I love interior design. This is what happened next. Our office, now called the Temple of Light, made Inc. magazine. Top 10 most beautiful workspaces in the world, 2019. This was one of just many goals that I was able to see in my mind on the mental screen that you're going to learn here, and then see them rush into my life with an ease and a fluidity that almost makes you feel that life is magical. And so I want to pause here, and I want you to do an exercise with me. I want you to open up your journal or a piece of paper and write down one goal that you'd love to accomplish, assuming you had easy access to intuition, assuming you knew this powerful technique to visualize your future and bring it towards you. What is one goal that you would love to accomplish. Write it down. Now, one of the things that makes Silva truly unique, Jose Silva doesn't just teach you to go deep into your goals. He teaches you a concept I call the compass and the rocket. You don't just rocket towards a goal. First, you use your compass or your intuition to identify if your goal is right for you, if you're aiming for the right goal. So this is a further nuance that we'll cover when you go deeper into the Silva Ultramind system. Sometimes what we think is a goal that we want isn't right for us. There's something else we're meant to be doing. Silva helps you identify that compass and then rocket towards it. Now, I hope you understand I was joking when I mentioned Texas lawyers being assholes. No disrespect. Silva was actually founded in Texas, in a little border town on the Texan-Mexican border called Laredo. And speaking of Texas, I was recently interviewing one of Texas' most famous sons, Matthew McConaughey. Matthew, if you've been following the news, just announced that he might be running for governor of Texas. And as I interviewed Matthew, he shared with me a really interesting idea. You see, Matthew, when he was young, wrote down all his goals on a sheet of paper. He shared this with me, and he was in a fraternity when he wrote this down. This is the piece of paper that he shared in his autobiography. Notice that one goal, win a Best Actor Oscar. 20 years later, Matthew McConaughey won that Oscar. Think about it. That's a goal that only one person gets to hit every year. He wrote it down and 20 years later achieved it. And I asked Matthew, what do you think is going on? Do you think that was just purely 1 in a billion chance? And he said, no. The target attracts the arrow. Now, what he meant by this is that what if there are goals out there that the universe or a higher force wants to achieve, and it's looking for the arrow. The target already exists. The target is looking to attract the right arrow. I sometimes ask myself, did I build this dream company, Mindvalley? Or was Mindvalley already in the universe's plan, and I was the arrow that it chose to hit that target? This is why it's so important to check into your intuition first before you aim for a goal. Because what if there's a target out there calling you, asking you to be that arrow, and you aren't listening? This is why intuition development is one of the most powerful tools you can learn. Now, before we go further, the Silva Ultramind program covers 8 outcomes. Let's do a quick pulse check. So one of the principles of transformation is that you got to know where you are so that you can see how much you're growing. This keeps your motivation high, it keeps you moving along, and it's part of the system in which we design Mindvalley programs, which is why Mindvalley programs have like a ridiculously high completion rate, almost 5 times the industry average. I'm going to ask you to rate yourself in these 8 areas. These are areas we're going to be focusing on. Now, the first area is this. Develop crystal clear intuition. Look at this statement and rate yourself on a score of 1 to 5. 5 meaning you are so intuitive that you have waking intuition. You get guidance instantly. Next, multiply your manifesting power. This means you can have an intention, and within days, you see that intention becoming real in the world. Third, career growth. This means you're able to bring altered state access into your career, like the story of me running my finger down the yellow pages. Fourth, boosting creativity. Rate yourself from 1 to 5. Now, 5 means this. If you're writing a book or if you're in any type of artistic pursuit, creativity can just flow. I can be given any book topic right now. I can go into my theta level of mind and just let that creativity flow. This is similar to some of the stuff that you may have heard great inventors speak about when ideas come to them fully formed in their head, like how Elias Howe invented the sewing machine, how Tesla came up with the AC motor. Again, rate yourself from 1 to 5. Next, being totally grounded. This means even in the midst of chaos, you can go into this peaceful Zen-like state of mind and be grounded. 6, discovering and honoring your purpose, knowing what targets are pulling yourself as an arrow. That's really what being aligned with your purpose means. Next, having the skills for alternative healing. What this means is being able to visualize your body healing so you can reverse aging, heal things like, for example, your skin, even lose weight, accelerate healing from injury, and keep yourself in high states of youth and vitality as you get older. And finally, achieving self-awareness. This is when you're truly aware of your true potential, you can magnify your strengths, and you can overcome your weaknesses. So let's talk about Jose Silva and how this remarkable man stumbled upon these ideas. Now, Jose Silva was a radio repairman in Laredo, Texas. And when he worked for the US Army, he observed something interesting. He saw a hypnotherapist being brought into the US military to help soldiers overcome PTSD and stress. This got him very interested in hypnotherapy, and he decided to dive into that exploration. But he had a reason for it. You see, Jose had 10 children. And being a radio repairman, he knew that if you reduce the resistance in a wire, more electricity flows. He wondered, is there a resistance in the brain? And if we could reduce this resistance, would his kids do better at school? So he started exploring relaxation techniques, biofeedback, and hypnotherapy. Back then, the word meditation was hardly used. Now, keep in mind, this was like the 50s and 60s. And what he found was fairly interesting. His kids' grades improved as he would guide them into a relaxed level of mind called the alpha level. Their memory would improve, their grades would improve, but then something astonishing happened. Jose was working with his daughter, Isabella, and he was helping Isabella with one of her school books. I can't remember the exact topic, but let's say it was history. So Jose would train his kids this way. He would guide Isabella into a relaxed state of mind called the alpha level. And then he would ask Isabella a question, and when you're at the alpha level, answers come to you faster. And so Isabella would answer the questions on, say, history. But then something weird happened. As Jose formulated the question in his head, for example, who was the 16th president of the United States? Before he could verbally say the question, Isabella would answer Abraham Lincoln. She was able to answer questions before Jose verbally expressed them. It was as if she was linked to his mind. Now, I met Isabella around 12 years ago. We were at a Silva conference in Greece. She shared this remarkable story with me. And Isabella today still functions as a healer. She works at a hospital in Texas, and she's what we call a medical intuit. And doctors use her. When a patient walks in, she stays in a corner. The doctor is there. She reads the patient, and then the doctor gives his diagnosis, and then she goes to the doctor and she privately whispers to the doctor, check his kidneys. It's interesting. The doctors don't publicly say this because it's too out there. But this is how powerful Isabella's mind has become. Silva was fascinated by this, and he wrote to the leading psychic researcher of that time, Dr. J.B. Ryan at Duke University. Duke University had a famous program testing ESP. They had proven that intuition was real. And Jose said, Dr. J.B. Ryan, I think I just trained my kids to be psychic. And J.B. Ryan said, no, in what I found, no one could be trained to be psychic. Your kids were just probably born psychic. So Jose said, I don't believe that. I believe we can train someone to be psychic. And so what he did was, in addition to Isabella, he trained all his kids. And then as his kids started showing up better in school, the neighbors were sending him his kids. So he trained the neighbors' kids. Then he started training the neighbors. And he proved J.B. Ryan wrong. The rate of intuition displayed in Silva classes is astonishing. Now at that point, Silva started to grow and grow and grow. Journalists started talking about this phenomenon, the Silva method. And finally, there was an article that appeared in a local newspaper about a man who had had chronic migraine for years. And he wrote how nothing could heal his migraine. But when he learned the Silva method and was able to get into the alpha level of mind, his migraines disappeared for good. The next class was absolutely swamped. Silva continued to expand, and he became world-renowned. He started collaborating with famous scientists like William Broad of the San Antonio Mind Science Center to study the human mind. And Silva got coverage in prestigious newspapers like the New York Times. But look at this article, for example, right? It talks about brainwaves studied, and the article mentions nothing of intuition. It mentions biofeedback. Now, Silva was smart. He knew that at this time, if he went out and he said he was teaching people to be functionally psychic, people would call him crazy. So in his seminars, especially in places like New York, he positioned it to CEOs, speaking of biofeedback, how CEOs could control stress, control migraines, get better at their job. And then on day 4 of the class, he'd go, ta-da, and then he'd teach them waking psychic intuition. He'd have to build up their muscle to get to that level. But he proved time and time and time and time again that you could train someone to do this. This is why so many leading personal growth teachers were such Silva fans. For example, the late Wayne Dyer said this about Jose Silva. Anything with the name of Jose Silva as the author has my vote before I open to page 1. Yet the entire thing, Silva method, almost never happened. Jose Silva spent years studying hypnotherapy, spent years studying psychology, and as he was so deep in this research, his radio business suffered, and his income started dipping. And one day, he wrote in his biography, he lay in bed, completely frustrated that all his passion for psychology, his passion for hypnotherapy, wasn't rewarding him in terms of financial stability. He said, I picked up a book on hypnotherapy and I just flung it across the room, determined that I would never go into that field again. That night, something interesting happened. As he slept, he saw 4 numbers in his sleep, along with a religious picture called the One Solitary Life, which had to do with Jesus. Jose Silva was a Christian. As he woke up, he realized something. That picture came from a higher power. And he mentioned later in his writing that the Jesus was simply symbology, that it was coming from a good source. Silva is non-religious. You could be of any religion. And when these insights come to you, sometimes they might come accompanied by your guru or your teacher or your holy book, okay? But Silva was fascinated by these 4 numbers, and it hit him. This is the license plate number of a car. There's someone driving a car with this license plate number that I have to meet. And so Silva went to work that day at his radio repair shop, puzzling, thinking about this number, keeping his eye out for any car. That day, a friend came to the store, and his friend said, hey, Jose, so I want to go pick up some Mexican groceries. Would you like to ride with me? I'm going to drive across the border to Nuevo Laredo, pick up my groceries, come back here. Let's go hang out, have a chat. And Jose told his friend about the number. And Jose said, yes, I'll come with you. But as we are driving, I'm going to be keeping my eye out for any car with that license plate number. His friend probably thought he was a little bit out there, but his friend decided to take Jose for the drive. Back then, crossing the Nuevo Laredo border was a lot easier than it is right now. So they drove to Nuevo Laredo, and they stopped at their favorite Mexican grocery store. As Jose was picking his groceries, he heard his friend call out, Jose, come check this out. There at the front of the counter was a Mexican lottery ticket for a local lottery. And there was the exact 4-digit number Jose had seen. Jose bought the ticket and he won $10,000. That's $50,000 in today's money. That gave him, he said, the confidence and the boost of motivation to understand that he was onto something. That money funded the rest of the research he needed to complete the Silva method. But he also went on to write in his biography, look at the coincidences that happened. The dream, the friend walking in, going to that specific grocery store, that exact number being there. He said it wasn't just intuition. There was a force, something was laying out the right people, the right circumstances, the right coincidences to move him towards that outcome. The target attracts the arrow. Thank you, Matthew McConaughey. Think about that for a second. This is what I started experiencing in my life, and this is what so many Silva graduates have experienced. Go to stories.mindvalley.com, which is our case study website. Type in Silva Ultramind. I launched this program barely a year ago. And look at the 700 case studies. What targets are waiting for you? Some of the stuff that Silva graduates have been able to accomplish are wild. In the last 10 years, I traveled around the United States meeting many prominent Silva practitioners. Many of them were in their 60s or 70s or 80s. This is one woman I visited, Helen Hadsell. That's me with my documentary crew. We filmed a short documentary on her. Now, Helen Hadsell was known as the contest queen of Texas. I traced Helen to a tiny village in Texas where she was living at that time. Helen Hadsell was able to win any competition she took part in. She was known as the contest queen because she had won 7 trips to Paris, boats, houses. She would basically take part in any sweepstake, any contest, and just win. And I asked Helen, how do you do that? And she spoke about the Silva techniques. Helen, you see, was Jose Silva's former PR director. She had the benefit of learning closely from that man. Then there's this individual, Bert Goldman. Bert Goldman was an early Mindvalley author. We published a program with him called The American Monk and another program called Quantum Jumping. Bert Goldman is in his 90s, but the thing that's incredible about Bert Goldman is even though he's in his 90s, he is a prolific creator. People who can tap into the theta states are like that. Bert has become a renowned artist. His art sells for between $10,000 to $20,000 a piece. I know because I have 2 of them in my office in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. But not only art, Bert can pick up any skill he wants. I saw him in his 80s learn to play the piano. He even developed a unique style of photography. True, applying the Silva method. The exact ideas, the exact system to develop this photography came to him in a dream. Then there's this legendary teacher. If you're a Mindvalley fan, you've heard of her, Christy Marie Sheldon. She's one of the top spiritual teachers on Mindvalley and a best-selling author from 2014 all the way to 2018. Christy Marie Sheldon started her career, she told me, when a Silva Method book fell on her head. Now I can tell you that the Silva Method is probably one of the most profound pieces of knowledge and wisdom that I've ever entered my life, which is why I'm so honored that Jose's daughter, Diana Silva, and his family asked me to bring this program together to be the new face of the Silva Method. What you're seeing here is 4 years in the making. And now that I've opened up your mind to all the possibilities and you've learned about what is possible, we're going to get on with our training. Now, to go through this training, you need to be in a space where you're not going to get disturbed. I'm going to guide you through some of these exercises, but before we begin, I need you to make a commitment. I'm going to give you my best, and what I'm going to share with you are elements of the Silva Method that before we were not allowed to share freely. They were part of a paid class. I'm going to share some of these elements with you freely. You're going to get a powerful taste of the Silva Method, and many of you, the majority of you, are going to want to go ahead, go deeper, and unlock the full possibilities. Now first, let's go on an exploration of altered states. What is an altered state of consciousness? Why do they matter? Now, Stephen Kotler, who is one of the pioneering authors and researchers of this field, Kotler says it needs to be normalized. He says we live in a monophasic society. In other words, all of us here today in the Western world, we are trained to operate in one phase, the waking level or beta. But indigenous cultures live in what is called a polyphasic society. There was a study done by a researcher called Bourguignon in 1973, and she found that all the indigenous cultures in the world, 90% of them at least, had some form of altered state access. It might be kung fu, it might be meditation, it might be dream culture where you go into lucid dreams, it might be Sufi dancing, Gnostic Christian prayer. But as we stumbled upon the rational age, we decided that anything that couldn't be explained by science was nonsense. And this momentarily caused us to shut down the access to these altered states. We stopped exploring them. This exploration is now coming to the forefront again in the Western world. So how do you access altered states? Well, there are 4 ways. The first is neurotraining. I've gone deep in neurotraining. This, for example, is me at a neurotraining facility in Canada. A neurotraining facility like that uses advanced tools. They put these electrodes on your brain in 12 different areas, and they train your brain to produce certain states, typically states associated with monks in meditation. Training like this is 5 days, and it costs $15,000. It is expensive. Neurotraining is effective, but expensive. And then there is plant medicine, which has been growing in popularity. I'm a big fan of plant medicine like ayahuasca, but even then, I only do it about once every 5 years. I have the most incredible insights under plant medicine, but plant medicine is illegal in most countries in the world. You have to journey to places like Peru or Ecuador or Costa Rica to do it. It takes a long time, 5-7 days on some of these retreats. But it's not the most pleasant experience because it involves a lot of puking. You got to be prepared to go through some pretty intense experiences. I've done it in places like the Amazon rainforest with native tribes like the Achuar. And again, it's an amazing way to access altered states, but not the cleanest, easiest, and most affordable. Then there's breathwork. I love breathwork. It's wonderful. But breathwork often produces uncontrollable states and uncontrollable emotions. A lot of your shadows, a lot of your past beliefs emerge, and you are meant to deal with it. But you don't get precise tools, almost like laser surgery, to solve the specific problem you want. And that's where in the famous book by Daniel Goleman, Altered Traits, he says the number one way to access altered states is meditation. Now, I partially agree with Daniel. Yes, meditation. But the best way to access altered states, based on everything I've seen, and I've been in the meditation field for 20 years. I've launched successful meditation apps like Omvana with almost 5 million users. I've run massive meditation conferences. And the most effective form of meditation I've found to reach altered states and truly use them is Silva Ultramind. This is why, this is the method I chose to bring forth to the world on Mindvalley's platform. Now, Jose Silva set up certain guidelines for his students to get great results. And the first thing he said is, you must have a burning desire, like a burning desire. Desire sparks intent, and desire causes the ripples to go in motion that bring you what you want. So before we go further, I want to ask you, what is your burning desire? Why is learning this important to you? Is there a change you want to make in your life? Is it because you feel you have unmet potential? Is it because you want to have the most incredible relationships? Is it for a contribution you want to make to the world? Write down your why. So now let's get started with the training. And there are 4 things we're going to go through. The first is understanding the states of mind. The second is accessing alpha, which is the most easiest to access state of mind. The third is the mental screen. And then 4, utilizing the power. We're going to start with the first. So let's go on to number 1, which is knowing the states. So right now, as you're watching this masterclass, as you're taking notes, most of you, according to Jose Silva, roughly 90% of you are at the beta waking frequency. This is where, if you were to hook up your brain to a device called an electroencephalograph or an EEG machine, your brain waves are beating at a waking frequency called beta, 14 to 21 cycles per second. That's pretty darn fast. This is alert. This is also the place where you find stress, anxiousness, and so on. Now, roughly 10% of people have gotten to a level where they can access the alpha level of mind. This is when your brain waves slow down to 7 to 14 cycles per second. 10% of the population, according to Jose, naturally go into alpha. Most of us have to learn how to get there. Now, when you learn to go from beta to alpha using the Silva method, you're able to make that state change in under 30 seconds after you master the technique, and that mastery takes about a week. The alpha state is associated with relaxation, with healing, with peacefulness, with bliss, with creativity. It is a remarkable state. But you can slow down your brainwave frequencies further to what is called theta. This is the dreamy state. Typically, when you get to theta, it's like how you feel as you're drifting off to sleep. Often you can't even keep your neck straight. Your neck drifts off. But with the Silva method, you learn to stay fully awake at theta. Theta is the state associated with hyper-creativity, with channeling, and with intuition. This is where a lot of the magic happens. But we don't stop there. There's a 4th state called delta. Delta is the state you go in when you're unconscious. It's when you're asleep. Now, spiritual teachers for the longest time have theorized that when we're asleep, there's some form of connection between us and higher intelligence. But because we're asleep, we're not fully conscious of it. Silva was one of the first people I knew who developed a protocol. It's called a mental video technique, and it's in the full Silva Ultramind system program that teaches you how to leverage the delta state. You literally go to sleep, implant a problem in your head, you wake up, and over the next 72 hours, you see things shift. Ideas come to you, and synchronicities develop to help you solve that problem. It's a powerful tool. It's pretty advanced, but it is powerful. And this is why I say Silva is one of the most powerful ways to access altered states, because very few programs teach you to go all the way to delta. Now, all of these states are measured in beats per second, right? This is what the electroencephalograph measures. But I want to give you an idea of what this sounds like. What you're about to hear right now is called the alpha sound. This is a simple sound that we use in the Silva training to get your brain to lock into the alpha state. This is what the alpha state sounds like. What you're hearing here is a sound with 7 to 14 beats per second. Now listen to what happens when we go to theta. It goes down to 4 to 7 beats per second. Roughly 30 to 40% of the silver class is done with the alpha sound, and 60 to 70% is done with the theta sound to train you to stay fully awake at the theta level of mind. Now, this is the key. You are already in alpha in the first 5 minutes of the morning when you wake up. So you don't have to worry, can I get to alpha? All of us already go to alpha. In fact, as we're going to bed, as we're falling asleep, we go from beta to alpha to theta to delta. Now, when you wake up, you're going from delta to theta to alpha and then to fully awake, but you're in alpha when you wake up in the morning. You're feeling a little bit groggy. You can kind of reflect on some dreams. And this is the moment you want to use to meditate. So go use the bathroom if you must. Go brush your teeth. Then get back on bed. Sit up straight. You can keep your feet crossed. You can keep your feet extended. But sit up straight, maybe with a pillow behind you and a pillow to support your hands. And you're then going to go to step 2. And I'm going to teach you how to go deeper and stay in that alpha state. And to do this, we're going to learn a technique called the 40-day technique. When I was 14 years old, and my dad gave me my first silver book, this was the technique I learned in the book. I dreamed of attending a silver class. I just was 14. I didn't have the money for it. So for 40 days, I applied this technique that Jose Silva outlined to train you to get to the alpha level of mind and to stay there consciously. And the results I got were amazing. But it did take 40 days. If you absolutely do not have money, this is how you want to approach it. Observe this diagram. What you're going to do is you're going to stay in bed. Remember, you're sitting up. Your legs may be cross-legged, your legs may be extended, and you're going to count backwards. For the first 10 days, you're going to count backwards from 100 to 1. And when you hit 1, you know you're at alpha. You're conditioning your mind to stay at that level, to embrace that level. At that point, when you're at alpha, at the count of 1, you're going to learn creative visualization. You're going to apply that using the mental screen. I'll teach you that in a moment, so stay tuned. Now, the good thing is this. After around 10 days, your brain gets conditioned to it, and you can now go to alpha counting backwards from 50 to 1. After 10 days of that, you can go to alpha counting from 20 to 1. And after 10 days of that, you can go to alpha counting from 10 to 1. And then it's literally 10 seconds, and you're at the alpha level of mind, and you're ready to put on your mental screen and use the tools I'm about to teach you to perform creative visualization to move you towards your goals. What do you do when you reach these states? Well, that's where the rest of the Silva Ultramind technique comes in. There's the mental video technique, there's the 3 scenes technique. You're going to learn how to bring all of these techniques together as you go through the full program. But for today, I'm still going to teach you something powerful, and it's called the mental video technique. Now let's do a quick recap. Step 1, know the various states. Beta, alpha, theta, delta. Step 2, know the 40-day countdown technique to teach yourself to get to alpha. By the time you hit day 31, you are able to get to alpha counting backwards from 10 to 1. And now we come to the mental screen. So I want to give you an idea of what the mental screen looks like. Imagine a giant television in front of you, much like my television here. Think of the biggest TV you've seen and imagine this giant screen in front of you. Now, if you could imagine this as big as a cinema screen, even better. This is called your mental screen. It is on the screen that you're going to project imagery of what you want to attract into your life. Jose found that as you close your eyes and you see this mental screen in your inner mind, imagine the screen is 20 degrees above the line of horizon. This automatically causes your eyeballs to go up 20 degrees. This has been proven by science to help generate alpha waves in your brain. Now, the mistake many people make with creative visualization is they're doing it at the beta level. But when you can get to the alpha level, the power is multiplied. So everything you think you've learned about law of attraction or the movie The Secret, it's incomplete. They tell you thoughts create reality. Yes, it does to some degree. But when you're able to harness these thoughts in the right way using the mental screen while being at waking alpha, you get a multiple of the impact. Let's imagine the mental screen is in front of you right now. Let's do a quick exercise. On your giant mental screen, as big as you can make it, I want you to turn the screen completely black at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Imagine the screen completely black. Now at the count of 3, imagine the screen completely white. 1, 2, 3. Now imagine a banana, a single banana on the screen. 1, 2, 3. Now at the count of 3, imagine an orange on the screen. 1, 2, 3. You see how easy that is? Now, when you go to the Silva training, you actually learn to improve your visualization ability. You learn to see vivid colors. You learn to see vivid fruits. You get to a level where you can almost smell the banana. This is part of the training, and all of this magnifies your ability to move you towards the outcomes you want and to solve problems. It also magnifies your ability to receive solutions through intuition. And now we go to step 4, utilizing the power. And now we come to the 3 scenes technique. I'm so excited to teach you this technique because for the longest time, literally decades, you could only learn this technique by taking a Silva class. Now I want you to keep something in mind. I'm going to teach you this technique at a very surface level. If you are in the full Silva Ultramind class, we go into a lot more nuance and we program this technique onto your subconscious mind. So its efficacy goes up significantly. But today, as you're here in this masterclass, I want to teach you this technique so you can start using it immediately. Just know that the impact multiplies as you go deeper into the Silva class, and Jose Silva's hypnotherapy script, as I read it out to you, programs this into your mind at the alpha and then theta level. Now here's how the technique works, and there's a reason it's called the 3 scenes technique. Remember that mental screen we spoke about earlier? Well, we're going to be utilizing it. The basic technique looks like this. I want you to pick a problem that you want to solve. It could be a fight with someone you love. It could be the fact that you feel unrecognized and unappreciated in your career. It could be that the business you're trying to start is failing. Now in scene 1, you see and feel the pain. Scene 1 is your mental screen directly in front of you. See and feel the pain. And then you're going to move the screen 15 degrees to the left. Now why to the left? In his studies with hypnotherapy, Jose Silva found that when you made someone progress to the future, they move to the left. If you made someone reflect on the past, they move to the right. From this, he concluded that your subconscious mind perceives the future to your left. So what is in the present is showing your subconscious mind that this is the present reality. When you move your screen 15 degrees to the left, it's telling your subconscious mind this is the near future. Now in that second scene, what you're going to see is some symbolic or real action that you need to resolve the situation. If it's a fight with a loved one, maybe it's you or them apologizing and making up. If it's not feeling appreciated at work, maybe it's some shift you make in your career. Could be getting a new job, could be having an open conversation with your peers. If a business or a project is lagging, maybe it is an insight that hits you. Maybe it is a course you enroll in to help you overcome that hurdle. See yourself taking some action. And in a moment, I'll show you what to visualize if the problem involves help. So if your problem is help, just be patient for a moment. We're going to come to that. Now, the third scene, you see the problem fully resolved, and you feel every positive feeling associated with the problem being resolved. So are you ready? I'm now going to guide you through this. But first, I want you to pick something that you want to resolve. Now, first, I'm going to guide you into a relaxed state of mind. Okay, now, you may go to alpha, you may not. Don't worry about that. Here you're simply learning the technique. In the full program, I guide you to get to alpha in 3 seconds and theta in maybe 10 seconds, right? But here, you're just learning this process. So I'm going to ask you to imagine, to close your eyes, and we're just going to count down backwards from 10 to 1. On every count, you will feel yourself going deeper. Remember, don't worry about reaching alpha. All I'm trying to do here is to teach you the technique. You can practice this if you want in the morning, if you're doing the 40 to 1 day countdown. Or you can practice this if you enroll in the program and dive into the full Silva Ultramind system. As I count gently backwards from 10 to 1, you will feel yourself getting more and more relaxed and going deeper and deeper into a relaxed state of mind. 10, 9, 8, gently relaxing, 7, 6, 5, going deeper and deeper, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're now at the alpha level, a relaxed state of mind, where we're going to practice the 3 scenes technique. Directly in front of you, on the first screen, I want you to visualize a problem that you're looking to resolve. Feel the pain and frustration of this problem. It's okay to feel anger. It's okay to feel frustrated. Here's a tip. As you visualize this pain and frustration, exaggerate it. Make it even more severe than you might know it is. Exaggerating it establishes greater desire for it to resolve. Feel the pain. Feel the frustration. If you feel you need to punch a pillow, do it. Now you're going to move the scene 15 degrees to the left. Don't worry about getting the 15 exact. Basically, move it gently a little bit to the left. Now see yourself taking some action to resolve the problem. You don't have to know the exact action. You don't even have to know if it's correct. Simply show that you're committed. Now, gently move the screen another 15 degrees to the left. And now you're going to see the solution, the end result that you want. See the solution in all its majestic glory. See full color. If you can, hear sounds, feel smells. Especially, feel the positive emotions associated with this solution. Jose Silva found that if you see 2 or more people benefiting from the solution, the outcome is more likely to come to you. And now you may open your eyes. You just did the 3 scenes technique. Now, naturally, if you're doing this after fully being trained in the Silva Ultramind system, you're going to be able to go deeper. You're going to create more vivid visuals, more vivid emotions, and you're going to be able to see faster results. But this is a first step, and you can already start using this. Now, some of you may be wondering, how do I use this for healing? I'm so glad you asked. Healing is really powerful. The late Dr. O. Carl Simonton ran the Simonton Cancer Research Institute, and he did a famous study on imagery therapy, in other words, visualization to heal cancer. This is what he found. He taught imagery therapy to 159 patients with incurable cancer. All of these patients were expected to live only 12 months. 4 years later, 63 were alive. 14 showed no signs of cancer. 12 had cancer regressing, and 17 were stable. The average survival rate of the group doubled to 24.4 months, twice the expected average. Now, what was this powerful technique that Dr. O. Carl Simonton was teaching these patients? It was the Silva method. O. Carl Simonton was a Silva graduate. He even was invited to speak at the Silva conference after this famous study. And this is what he said. About the Silva system, I would say it is the most powerful single tool that I have to offer patients. Now, I can attest to this because I use Silva to heal my skin. When I was 17 years old, and by the way, this was just from reading the Silva books. Now, it took me a long time. I picked up the book when I was 14. I was practicing Silva. It was only when I was 17 that things started clicking. Remember, I hadn't attended a class. I didn't have the money. I was a teen. Now, you will get faster results because you have the opportunity to go into a Mindvalley class and truly master it. But for me, it took 4 years, but I persisted because I could see the potential of it. So, as a teenager, I had horrible skin. I suffered from self-esteem problems because going to school, I was picked on by bullies. I had a nickname, Pimple Boy, or sometimes Pimple Face. And I hated it. I never went on a date or dared even speak to a girl my entire high school life because I felt ugly. When I was 17, I read in one of Jose's books, at this point I'd read multiple books by Jose, and he mentioned that the skin was the organ most susceptible to the power of the human mind. And it dawned on me, maybe I should try healing my skin. And so I practice the technique that I just shared with you. And Jose says if you're looking at healing something, you have to practice the technique 3 times a day. Now, each practice would take maybe 3 to 5 minutes, so it wasn't a big deal. It was no more than 10 to 12 minutes of meditation, 3 times a day. For 3 times a day, I would see my skin healing. I would start with the first screen where I would see my skin in its current horrible state. The second screen, I would see myself doing something to heal the skin. Now, here's the thing. If it's a health practice, you don't have to see yourself taking some particular pill or so on. Just see yourself doing something, and that something can be symbolic. Your subconscious mind understands symbolism. In the second screen, I saw myself looking up at the sky and then putting my hands in the sky and grabbing like this blue cream from the sky, as if the sky was as if the sky could be scooped up like a cream, rubbing this cream around my face, looking up at the sun coming down on this cream somehow healing and fixing my skin, then falling off, leaving a layer of beautiful, healthy skin underneath it. And in the third screen, I'd see myself confident, walking to classes again, not fearing being bullied, fully content with how I looked. In 5 weeks, I healed a skin condition, chronic acne, that I had had for 5 years. And I'd gone to doctors. I remember injections being put in my skin. It was horrible. My mom had spent so much money trying to help me heal my skin. I healed it in 5 weeks. So many Silva graduates have since used these techniques to heal their skin. So here's a quick summary for healing. Scene 1, see and feel the pain, feel the emotions of frustration. Scene 2, see some symbolic or real action taken to create the healing. Now, you can bring in your doctor or medicine, if any. If the doctor has given you some medicine, or if you have a doctor you love, see that doctor involved. This is a great thing to do. Jose Silva said, never use this to replace modern medicine. Use it together with modern medicine. If your doctor, in short, has given you a pill, on that second scene, as you see yourself popping the pill, exaggerate, see like magical rays of light emerging from that pill, healing your entire body. But always do this in cooperation with modern medical science. It works best when it's together. The third scene, see and feel yourself being fully healed. And repeat 3 times a day until your injury has resolved itself. And now the fun begins. Let's talk about advanced techniques. This is where the true power of Silva lies. So one of the most entertaining articles on Silva I ever came across was in the Washington Post. It was called Tripping Through the Twilight Zone. The reason it was called Tripping Through the Twilight Zone is because this reporter spoke about what happens when you go through the full Silva program. It can be bizarre in the most beautiful way. Bizarre, like you've stumbled upon this magic toolkit of tools to transform every aspect of your life. And I want to share with you some of the tools that many of you are going to get when you go deep into the full Silva Ultramind training, which takes place over 30 days, just 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day. The first powerful tool is the centering exercise. So the centering exercise is an approximately 22-minute guided session that gets you to go straight to your center meaning the alpha level of mind. And the centering exercise doesn't just get you to alpha, it programs you to go to alpha faster and faster and faster. Before you're even done with the first 30% of the program, the centering exercise is upgraded, and it now teaches you to go to theta. That means we're no longer talking about the alpha level of mind, we're talking about waking theta. By week 2, you're already able to go to the theta level of mind, and where most people are falling asleep, you're able to stay awake lucid. Now when you're at the theta level of mind, everything you put on your mental screen, the power is exponential. You can literally implant commands and statements in your mind. You know what is Silva's favorite statement? Every day, in every way, I get better, better, and better. This is what I tell myself every day as I go deep into my Silva meditation. Now, I love this statement so much, I even have a sign of it on my wall right over there to remind myself of this statement. This is one of the core programmings that Silva puts in you. But there's more. Now, as a result of the centering technique, you learn to get to the alpha level of mind in roughly 10 seconds. That's how fast it starts to happen. But we don't stop there. You go deeper into the theta and delta levels of mind. And this is where you learn mental programming. You can program your body to heal. You can program new beliefs in your mind. You can program yourself to have different attitudes. It's like you are your own best hypnotherapist. I've literally saved myself probably $100,000 worth of hypnotherapy fees just being able to program myself by going into the alpha and theta level of mind. Now that's just the beginning. The next advanced idea is theta state access. As I mentioned, this is where most people fall asleep, but you learn to go deep into theta state access, and here you learn a concept best described as remote viewing. You learn to project your awareness across time and space to pick up information otherwise unknown to you. Again, have an open mind. One of the things you learn in this program is how to connect with plant life and plant matter so you can better work with the energy of plants and even accelerate healing in plants. This is a precursor as we go to more advanced levels of healing where you learn to heal animals. And this is a stepping stone to healing other human beings. This class teaches you how to give healing energy, not just to yourself, but to your loved ones. But not just give healing energy. By the end of the Silva class, you are given the name, age, gender, and location of someone unknown to you. But not just healing. You learn to perceive where someone needs to heal. Big difference there. Now, one of the things that happens midway in the class is a concept called psychometry. You learn how to hold an object and perceive information from the object. In fact, we do this in the live Silva classes. People are paired up. In this case, you can see two people. The woman is one of my students, Elise, and Elise is holding an object wrapped in newspaper from her partner, whom she's meeting for the first time in the class. And as someone holds the object, insights, intuition come to them. There was one situation where the person holding the object with their eyes closed said, I see an 8-ball on my mental screen. He unwrapped the object and it was an 8-ball keychain. Another person, this was a class in San Mateo, California, said, I see myself flying through the clouds. The sky is blue and I see white clouds and I'm flying through them. He opened the paper. The object was a plane ticket. This ability to perceive information is so profound. It is why Richard Bach, the famous writer, credited Silva with helping him finish one of the greatest books of the last 100 years, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Jonathan Livingston Seagull, as a book, was so popular as a personal growth tale, it made the cover of Time magazine. But Richard Bach, in an interview with Harper's Bazaar magazine, said that he had difficulty finishing the book until he took a Silva class. And that's when the closing chapter came to him. Now, interestingly enough, Richard Bach's daughter, Gauri, reached out to me and shared the full story. Jonathan Livingston Seagull, the book that made the cover of Time magazine, sat in Richard's basement for years until taking a Silva class helped him complete it. And he was so fond of Silva, he would teach techniques to Gauri. Imagine writing a book because of Silva that is so successful. You make the cover of Time magazine, but that's what our graduates are doing. Now, the next advanced idea is a concept called caseworking. Remember we spoke about Dr. O. Carl Simonton and the incredible rate in which Silva was helping extend the lifespan of people with terminal cancer? Well, caseworking works like this. You learn to be a healer, not just for yourself, but for other people. But to develop that healing ability, Silva found that the best way is to get you to work cases. Cases are other human beings who need help. What you're seeing in this picture is an example of caseworking. This is, here you're seeing Jason Goldberg. He's actually a Mindvalley author who was in one of our Silva classes. Now what's going on here is really interesting. Everyone is paired up in the class and people come with a piece of paper carrying the name, age, gender, and location of someone they know, but whom another person in the class wouldn't know. They then are paired up. They take turns. In this case, Jason, for example, might be the meditator. He goes into his theta level of mind, and the guide, the person holding up the piece of paper, reads out nothing more than the name, age, gender, and location of the case. Jason attempts to project his awareness, to see the other person, to describe them, to understand what they are feeling, to understand what ailments they might have that need healing. And then as he identifies this, he's asked to give them healing. The accuracy and the number of hits on this is remarkable. In almost every Silva class, people see with incredible clarity the people that they are meant to heal. They are able to perceive information on illnesses to find out that these illnesses, whether it's a broken bone or it's skin disease, are true. Silva found that when it comes to psychic perception, we are all deeply connected. And we, as souls, want to be healed by each other. And so this is one of the first and easiest things to detect psychically. But once you learn this, you start being able to fine-tune your psychic abilities like it's a muscle, and everything else in life gets easier. It's like you have an inner guidance that is constantly with you. The side effect of practicing cases and healing other people is you learn to heal yourself. Check out this case study. This woman was able to transform her weight so she could go back to wearing what she says is a tiny bikini. But not only that, I mean, that's just losing weight, right? You can do that by getting on a diet program like WildFit. She healed her eyesight. And they say that eyesight is not something you can heal easily. Imagine being able to discard your glasses. So many Silva graduates have done that. And we're not even done yet, folks. Another advanced level technique is Delta State Access. This is where you learn the powerful mental video technique. The mental video technique is where if you have an intractable problem, a problem you don't know how to solve, someone is literally bullying you, for example, or you just can't get your business going, or you need to increase sales, you don't know how. Well, you practice this technique before going to bed. When you go to bed, this technique awakens something in you. You won't even remember it, but something happens. When you wake up the next day, over the next 72 hours, you keep your eye out for the solution. And the solution that you need will happen. I've used this technique so many times to make important business decisions, to help my company grow, to get out of bad decisions that I've made. How would you use this? So many spiritual teachers say that when we sleep, we're connected to a higher power. But the only method I've found that actually teaches you to harness this time and see an actual impact in the world is Silva Ultramind. Now, Silva never taught the mental video technique in his earlier work. He included it in Silva Ultramind, which, as I said, he started developing in 95 and 96, but he was very sick. He eventually died in 99 just from old age. And he said that this is the single most important tool every human being needs to learn. And as someone who's been using this for almost 2 decades, I totally agree. I started working with the Silva family in 2003. And in 2020, we launched Silva Ultramind, the most advanced Silva program in the world right now. And it's now available for you completely on Mindvalley. You can choose to take everything you learned so far and try to figure it out over the next 4 years, or you can choose to have me hold your hand 20 to 30 minutes a day and go into a complete transformation. Now, odds are you already meditate. So for the next 30 days, it's not like you have to spend an extra 20 minutes. You can, since there's going to be a lot of meditation in this program, just use your regular meditation or yoga time. You're going to come out of these trainings with the same relaxed, beautiful, wonderful, blissful sensations. So for many of you, let's say your meditation is 20 minutes, it's maybe an extra 10 minutes a day. But imagine where you could be in 30 days. So to enroll, all you got to do is this. Scroll down below this video, and you will see full information on the program. And you will notice that there's a special unlock price for you. Now what this means is, as a thank you for watching this masterclass, we're going to give you a big discount on this program. It's only available on this page, so do not close this page. Go ahead, click enroll, and join the program. Now I want you to understand one thing about our Mindvalley programs. You don't have to make up your mind right now. You can enroll in this program, test it out, and anytime in the next 15 days, with one click, cancel your purchase and get a full unconditional refund. All you have to do is click on your account page on the Mindvalley platform, click on the refund button, and that's it. You are never obligated to buy a program. You can test it out. You can see the video. You can even go through practically half the program because you can give yourself a refund in 15 days with one click. So you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Now, if you are buying a house or buying a car, you would obviously test drive things, right? I encourage you to do the same here. Scroll down below, click enroll so you can take advantage of the enrollment discount. Explore the program as much as you want in the next 15 days. Cancel and get your refund. You can apply your refund to another Mindvalley program, or you can just keep it. All the information is on mindvalley.com refund. By the way, if you look at the pricing for this program, you will see why the vast majority choose to become a member rather than buy an individual program, just $100 extra. But you don't just get one program, you get over 50 programs on Mindvalley instantly available for you. You can go through a new program every month or do 2 programs in a month and up-level yourself in 24 unique areas of life in the coming year. But that's not all. Membership also means that you get access to Mindvalley live events with so many special guests.
What's happening here?
You're on our private social network. You're in a network of fellow members, and these are such incredible individuals. And we have memberships now in every country in the world. And by the way, if you're watching this masterclass right now, you are enrolling in our special class of the year. We have one special class of the year, and it's happening at the date below. Now, in this special class, you get so many bonuses, and the biggest bonus is this. Before I launched Silva Ultramind, there was another really remarkable program that I released. It was on creative visualization. It sold for $249. You're going to get creative visualization free. I collaborated on this with the phenomenal teacher Lisa Nichols. You might remember her from the hit movie The Secret. Working with Lisa Nichols, we created these amazing creative visualization tracks to help you visualize spectacular outcomes in your life. You're going to get this as a bonus, $249, but only during the launch period. Now, here's how you use this bonus with Silva. As you go through the Silva program, as you learn to go deeper and deeper into Alpha, you can go to the Alpha level of mind. Remember, by the end of week 1, you can get to Alpha in about 10 seconds, right? You can now go to Alpha and then play this audio, this creative visualization audio. Choose the ones that relate to the particular outcomes in life you want and watch magic happen. So you're not just getting one program, you're getting 2, but only this week. Now I do this because this is going to be the biggest Silva class of the year. This is our annual super class. There's going to be multiple other bonuses, including me coming on live to answer the questions of our students. And there's also going to be a big graduation party when we finish this class. Now, before I launched this program in 2020, I was about to give a class to CEOs and CHROs at the Ritz-Carlton in Marina del Rey, California. That class was $8,000. And if you were a Mindvalley member, you got it as a discount for around $3,995. And look at the webpage. I believe it's still up. It's called Becoming Superhuman at Work. And you will see that what I was teaching in the class is essentially key ideas from Silva, except that we also added networking and some nuances for CEOs and CHROs. That is how much this content was worth. CEOs were taking 2 days off their busy schedules to travel to the Ritz-Carlton's Marina del Rey to go deep with me. Now keep in mind, you're getting all of that in this new Silva Ultramind program. I put it in this program because, well, in March 2020, it became very apparent that we didn't know how long the world was going to be in a pandemic, and I wouldn't have a chance to teach this class. Prior to that, my Silva class, and the picture you're seeing here is a Silva Ultramind seminar over 2 days in Estonia. These classes were attended by 500 people. Now, the entire curriculum for that 2 days, we're giving it to you in 20 to 30 minutes a day over 30 days. So you're getting the exact same training. But there's an extra bonus. You're going to be connected in a community using Mindvalley's new private social network. So even though you can't be in a class with other students, you'll get to connect on a private social network, which not only will give you access to other students, but will also show you students who might be nearby, so that you can get together for a cup of coffee or to practice and connect on your Silva practice and find partners and collaborators. Now, here's how the program works. As soon as you click Enroll, you get to access the program in full. Simply open up the Mindvalley app on your iPhone or Android and the program will be there for you, or open it up on Apple TV, or go to home.mindvalley.com. There's a Mindvalley app on all of these devices. The program has a start date. Join a class. All our classes start on a Monday. You can see the number of students in a class and join the class with the largest number of students. Trust me, it's the most fun. Now, every day a new lesson will unlock. Simply follow the lessons and the meditation. That's it. Before the class starts, there's a series of warm-up videos that I created for you, guiding you through the entire process so you know exactly how to prepare. And you'll also get a welcome guide on mindvalley.com/welcome that explains how the entire system works. At this point, you have two choices. You can choose to say, okay, I've learned enough. I think this is pretty cool. I'm going to try this out. I'm going to learn to get to alpha over the next 40 days. I'm just going to figure everything out. And I'm sure you could figure everything out. It may take years, but you could. When I was 14 years old and I picked up my first Silva book and I had that skin problem, I wish I'd been able to take a Silva class because it could have solved my skin problem probably within months. But because I didn't have the money for that Silva class, I was 14 as I said, I had to read multiple books, try to figure out things on my own, and books are never as good as a powerful training. Silva's books cannot give you the full immersion that you get in a training where there are specific audio technology, specific hypnotherapy scripts. The trainings speak to your subconscious mind. They change you at a different level. But if I had taken a Silva class, my God, my entire teenage life might have been different. Maybe I'd be significantly more ahead than I am right now. Maybe I would have been able to at least get a date or not feel ugly. I wish I'd learned Silva when I was significantly younger. Now, you don't have to worry about that because the training is available for you right here on the Mindvalley platform. I can't wait to see you in our membership.